Hey everybody, this is my monkey, Walter. I'm going to use Walter to show you how this movie does about 95% of its scares. Walter, take it away. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to another Super Series Tuesday. For today we will be covering the second film in the Conjuring universe, titled Annabelle. Yes, they made a spin-off movie based on the doll that barely had any screen time in the original. Cool. So Annabelle was released in 2014 and was directed by John R. Leonetti, stars Ward Horton, Annabelle Wallis, and Alfre Woodard. And the story follows the couple, played by Ward Horton and Annabelle Wallis, as they are haunted by supernatural forces because they were attacked by a satanic cult member or two. Very simply, that I am not a huge fan of this movie at all, really. There's almost no aspects. I struggled extremely hard to find any positives in this movie at all, and it's going to show. So let's just hop right into them. The first one is this movie has a couple, and if you don't know, a couple's like two, maybe a few, like 3 or 4. Okay-ish scares. There's a couple of moments where it's kind of like a little eerie. There's one in particular. The woman, she's in the room, and then across the hallway in the other room, she can see this little girl, and then as the door closes, the little girl runs, and then when she busts the door down, she's like this woman.
Who are you?
And that was kind of freaky, and sometimes you see stuff in the background that might give you the creeps a little bit, but yeah, a few okay-ish kind of creepy stuff. First positive. Second positive is the baby in this movie. It's gotta be like the cutest baby I've ever laid my eyes on, and like I said, the baby has no lines. It's a baby. The baby does nothing besides be a baby, but the baby's friggin' adorable. Second positive. And third positive, I guess, is, and it's the whole reason that this film even happened, is that the Annabelle doll itself is in general creepy to look at, and like I used Walter for earlier, the movie relies like all pretty much on Annabelle just kind of being creepy in general. Every single poster is just her face or just her sitting there, the doll. Did it need an entire backstory? 2 backstories actually. Not at all, but she is in general very creepy to kind of look at, so she is unsettling, so I'll give the movie that positive. And the middle ground on this one, it's not even really middle ground, just towards the end of this movie, I was actually kind of surprised because I thought this movie was going to do something like shocking and like, holy shit, they actually just did that, like, blow your mind. I think this would have bumped the movie up by quite a lot in everyone's mind, but of course they pulled back on it and nothing actually happened, but anyway, you'll know what I mean when you say, you'll go, oh my god, and then you'll go, oh. So the movie pretty much, yeah, it was like, hey, we're digging our way out of this hole with this one maneuver, and then they were like, just kidding, and then just swan dived right back into the bottom of the pit. And the negatives, I'm not even going to spend my time on these, because this movie really doesn't deserve mine or your time. First and foremost, the movie doesn't even really have a story. It kind of does. It has, like, happenings, sort of. They're haunted. They're haunted? Yeah, the story is pretty bare bones. Nothing really happens. They're haunted. They don't even try to call, like, anyone in to really do anything. They kind of just accept this shit. And let's not even get me started on the explanation. You go to The Conjuring, the explanation of things is very in-depth, although brief, it's very in-depth, and they go into it, and they really, you know, they do things to try and prevent this stuff. This movie, not at all. It's just like, it wants your soul, and that's it. They just say, it wants your soul. And guess what? It wants your soul. That's it. It wants souls. It wants a soul. Like it. The explanations, they just kind of think of them on their own, and it's really dumb. Next is this movie is insanely predictable. I strictly remember watching this movie, and for every single jump scare in this movie, every single one, you can quote me on that. I literally did this. Since I didn't want to speak up and ruin any sort of atmosphere this movie attempts to have, I just went, jump scare. Happened every single time. As soon as I put that one finger down, there was a jump scare. This movie is insanely predictable, plot-wise, with its scares. Everything about this movie is brutally predictable. Next is that movie relies on jump scares only. Remember when I talked about earlier, last week with my Conjuring review, how jump scares can be used effectively, or they can be used gimmicky. If they use it gimmicky, where jump scares is the only thing the movie has going for it, it's a bad movie. Jump scares is the only thing this movie has going for it. literally it. There's no genuine scares, there's nothing creepy, there's nothing disturbing, there's no atmosphere, there's nothing. It's just relies 110% on jump scares and jump scares alone. And next is the acting is pretty well awful. I mean, Alfre Woodard does an okay job. She's one of the better ones. And even Annabelle Walls kind of grows on you towards the end. But the acting is so wooden. The dialogue is so poorly written. It just seems like nobody cares. It seems like these guys are just the ghosts just haunting around, floating through the story, and just, oh, like it just, they don't do anything. They're really boring characters, they're boring people, you don't care about any of it. And I'm gonna spoil this sort of part for you, but who cares? You're not gonna watch this movie if you have already, who cares? It's literally, it's not a big deal at all. It's not like a big plot point. It's literally in the very beginning of the movie. The reason that this Annabelle doll is haunted, and again, like later Annabelle creation contradicts this, but they totally rip off Child's Play. Like the woman in the cult people members that attack the husband and wife, she locks herself in the room when the police show up, and she kills herself holding the doll and does some sort of satanic ritual, just like in Child's Play. When Charles Lee Ray is gonna die, he just grabs the good guy doll or whatever it is, and does a little ritual, and all of a sudden he's in the doll. It's like the same thing. She kills herself, does a little ritual with the doll, now she's the doll. What kind of horseshit is that? You can't think of anything original whatsoever. Just, you all of a sudden like, alright, Child's Play was interesting, and that was a long time ago, no one remembers that. It's like, seriously? You didn't even try. When it comes down to it, guys, Annabelle is just so remarkably unscary. It is like a landmark in horror for almost how unscary it is, really. Like, I've seen less scary and much more stupid films, but people were genuinely excited for this movie. I was genuinely excited for this movie. Coming off of The Conjuring, one of the more creepy elements of it, creepy but brief, yes, I was excited for this movie, the next movie in the larger Conjuring universe. This movie, I feel like because the hype it had going for it sucked so much more because people were actually genuinely excited for it. It didn't look like it was going to be shit, but then it was. So it just sucked that much more because of that. Literally, if you took out the jump scares in this movie and the music and the atmosphere-ish stuff leading up to the jump scares in this movie would almost be a silent film. That's how heavily this movie relies on its jump scares. So guys, to summarize, this movie has a couple, maybe a few decent-ish, okay-ish kind of scares and creepy moments. The baby in it's adorable. And Annabelle in general is a creepy doll to look at, okay? I'll give it that. The middle ground is there is a moment in this that could have been shocking and awesome, but they immediately took back everything that they did and ruined it. So I mean, that's not like a negative, I guess, necessarily, because I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it just sucks that they could have done something awesome and made this movie way better just by doing this one thing that was super ballsy. And the negatives, the movie doesn't even really have a story. It's insanely, predictable. Relies on jump scares only and no other form of scaring you. The acting's horrible. It literally, the origin of Annabelle rips off of Child's Play. If this movie didn't have so much hype surrounding it, it might have been a bit better. But all in all, guys, the movie pretty much fell flat on its face and downright sucked. I'm going to give Annabelle a 4 out of 10. So guys, if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know. Do you think Annabelle was a major disappointment, or did you happen to be some of the people that enjoy it? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap.